Star Trek just introduced a major change to Klingon society without any of us noticing. The Klingon Empire, for decades, has been synonymous with unyielding honor, blood, and ritual. Their society is built on the idea that glory in battle is the highest virtue. Retribution is more natural than forgiveness. Yet, in a quiet turn of events, one that many fans might have missed, Star Trek has introduced a subtle but seismic shift to Klingon culture: compassion. And the change comes not from tradition, but from a warrior raised among other species, Worf. The quiet turning point. Worf, Alexander, and the Kuvi. The catalyst for this transformation is found in Star Trek Defiant #24, in a ritual called the Kuvi. Historically, the Kuvi is a path to restoring lost honor. For a Klingon who has brought shame to his house, completing the ritual can mean reclaiming dignity. But traditionally, this reclamation often demands violence, even death. This time, however, things change. Worf's son, Alexander, is completing the Kuvi, and when he finally stands before Kalas II, the despotic figure he could kill to finish the ritual, he spares his life. Instead of sacrifice through bloodshed, Worf tells Alexander that the heart of this rite should be compassion, not just killing. This is revolutionary, a core part of Klingon ritual reinterpreted through Worf's influence. Compassion, Worf argues, is not weakness. It's not alien to honor. It enriches it. He acknowledges that compassion, as a concept, has no perfect equivalent in traditional Klingon. Yet, he insists the ritual should evolve. Why this matters? A cultural revolution in miniature. This isn't just a personal choice. It's a potential cultural inflection point. A change to a long-standing ritual, especially one as sacred as the Kuvi, hints at a society that can grow. Honor may remain paramount, but now new dimensions, empathy, mercy, forgiveness, are being sewn into its fabric. That's massive. Klingons have historically structured their identity around strength, vengeance, and unwavering pride. By allowing compassion to be part of ritual, Worf introduces a radical reimagining. Honor doesn't always demand death. It can coexist with mercy. What's even more striking is how discreet this change is. The events of Defiant #24 happen away from the main Klingon power centers, in the Arcanus sector, distant from the Empire's political capitals. That means this transformation occurs without spectacle, without immediate fanfare, perhaps intentionally, but perhaps because change on this scale begins quietly. The origin of the change. Worf as a cultural bridge. Worf is the perfect conduit for this transformation. Raised by humans, baptized into Klingon culture, he straddles two worlds. His unique position, both as a Klingon warrior and someone deeply influenced by Federation ideals, allows him to introduce foreign concepts without outright rejecting tradition. His relationship with Alexander underscores this. As a father, Worf doesn't just enforce Klingon customs. He teaches other values, including compassion. When he talks to Alexander before the Kuvi, he plants the seed of mercy, nudging his son to envision a different kind of honor. It's not Worf disrespecting tradition. It's him reinterpreting it, using his dual identity to evolve Klingon culture from within. The ripple effects. What this could mean for the Klingon Empire. 1. Ritual and governance. If Alexander's example spreads, future Klingons undergoing the Kuvi might not see killing as the only way. The rite could become a dialogue, a test of moral resolve, not just martial prowess. Over time, this could influence how Klingons handle shame, dishonor, and restoration. In political terms, a more compassionate ritual could reshape how houses treat disgrace. Rather than demanding ciphers of blood and revenge, some houses might opt for mercy, potentially reducing internal warfare or vendettas. 2. Interpersonal relationships. Honor-based conflict will not vanish overnight, but interpersonal dynamics among Klingons might shift. Warriors may still fight, but the threshold for forgiveness could rise. Compassionate honor could lead to more diplomatic solutions, even among Klingon houses. Imagine Klingon leaders who, rather than insisting on death for every slight, choose conciliation when possible. That would recast the Empire not merely as a war machine, but as a society capable of restraint and reflection. 3. Klingon Federation relations. Worf's influence already bridges two cultures. If Klingon society integrates compassion more deeply, their diplomatic relations with other species, especially the Federation, could deepen. Klingons may still value glory in battle, but if they also value mercy, the nature of Klingon Federation interactions could look more cooperative. This could further blur the us versus them binary that often defines Star Trek conflict. Klingons might remain fierce, but not relentlessly bloodthirsty. For Kahless's legacy reinterpreted, Kahless, both the mythical founder and recurring figure, embodies the ultimate warrior. Sparing Kahless, II, is symbolically potent. It suggests that the myth of Kahless doesn't only endorse violence, it can endorse something more nuanced. That reinterpretation could ripple across Klingon culture. What does it mean to be Kahless-like now? Perhaps true Kahlessness incorporates not just conquest, but compassion, challenges, and tensions. Not everyone will accept this. Change in a warrior society isn't easy. There's a tension between tradition and innovation, between the old guard who prize blood and new thinkers who see value in mercy. Some Klingons will resist this reinterpretation of the Kuvi. For them, sparing an enemy may feel like a weakness, a betrayal of the past. Others may wonder whether compassion dilutes honor, whether mercy cheapens the meaning of struggle. Additionally, since this change is happening away from the Klingon political heartlands, it may take time to spread. Houses deeply rooted in ritual, blood feuds, and conservative traditions might reject or mock such ideas. Transmission of this new, compassionate honor could face institutional inertia. Finally, there may be external pressure. Other powers, including the Federation, might misunderstand this shift. They may see Klingons as softer, or misinterpret mercy for submission, not realizing that the change is not about weakness, but about evolving strength. Why we might have missed it, and why it matters now. Most fans probably didn't notice because this development plays out in the comic books, not on screen. Comic storylines often don't get the same immediate cultural weight as films or TV episodes. Defiant #24 isn't a blockbuster series, yet it carries what may be one of the most profound cultural revisions in Klingon lore. Additionally, the change is modest in presentation. No grand speech, no public uprising. It happens in a private moment between father and son. That subtlety is part of its power. Culture doesn't always evolve with fanfare. Sometimes, it changes through counsel, compassion, and quiet revolution. This is the sort of world-building Star Trek has excelled at across media. In many ways, Worf's reimagining of the Kuvi is a deeply Star Trek move, not erasing Klingon identity, but enriching it. Bigger picture. What this says about Star Trek's evolution. This shift indicates that Star Trek, even in its extended universe comics, novels, etc., continues to challenge and reimagine its own mythos. Klingons are rarely static. Since their first appearance, they've been reinvented. Their look, their politics, their spirituality. By adding compassion into their rituals, Star Trek reminds us that no culture, no matter how alien, is monolithic. Even a warrior race built on blood and battle can learn to temper its traditions without abandoning them. Moreover, this could be a signal to future storytellers. Klingon arcs don't have to be purely about war. They can explore redemption, reconciliation, generational change, and even moral philosophy. Hypothetical narratives. Where this could lead. Let's imagine some possible storylines this change could inspire. 1. A new Kuvi right. A future comic or TV episode shows multiple Klingons from different houses undergoing the Kuvi. Some choose violence. Others, like Alexander, choose mercy. The Empire watches. Some houses applaud the evolution, others resent it. The ritual becomes battleground for tradition versus progress. 2. Diplomatic crisis. A